All right, let me get to some of the actual real news. Carney government announcing the economic update yesterday. I had people on from the Canadian Federation of Independent Businesses. I had someone on from the Taxpayers Federation. Nobody's happy, but I think that's usually par for the course. What do you think?
I think it is a kind of a routine economic update in the sense that it's not a dramatic event. It's not a mini budget. Yeah, there was some new spending. There were measures on trades. And I think the PM right now is doing an announcement trying to extend that focus on 100,000 apprenticeships and all that kind of stuff. But really, it was more or less an economic update and projection. And here's what I think most people are missing. A couple of people have latched onto it, but it was the first thing I went to when I got my grippers on the document yesterday. I wanted to see what they thought the price of oil was going to be next year. Like, to me, that's the ball game, because we have this war in Iran. We have no idea when it will end. We know it punishes us with prices, so there's a political price to be paid because you got high gas prices. But when there are high gas prices, there are also high oil prices, and when there are high oil prices, our revenues swell. So they set the price of oil at $72 a barrel in this economic statement for next year. That's what they're predicting. So I think the reality is it's going to be higher than that. Revenues, therefore, will be billions of dollars larger than that. So they are setting up a dynamic. This reminds me of my old boss, Paul Martin, when we were at finance. They are setting up a dynamic where they're going to be the anti-Trudeau. Trudeau would make a projection. They would fail to meet it. It would be worse. They're going to end up with a projection where they're going to say, you know what? The deficit's going to be next year $64 billion, whatever it's supposed to be, around that fact. They're going to come in, they're going to say, golly, we're $11 billion shy of that. Now, we spent $7 billion on important things that build things that are critical things. People will like or not like that, but we're still $4 billion ahead. They're setting themselves up for that. They're setting themselves up to meet or surpass the objective. And I think that's actually smart planning. I think that's prudent, smart politically, it's probably smart economically, but it's going to be frustrating for the opposition because they're going to be like, this is a card game. Come on. You know they're doing this.
So this is kind of an aim low, the way you're describing it, right? And deliver on top, deliver better than what you aimed at. And you can say, oh, look how well we've done.
I don't understand why governments fail to, learn this lesson. When Mr. Martin came in the 90s and we were like, our back's against the wall, the first thing we did was say, all right, we are going to, one, move to 2-year rolling targets so that we're holding our feet to the fire, and 2, we are going to adjust our projections so that we estimate the deficit to be larger, growth to be lower. Right. We are going to be cautious and conservative in our estimates, and that way we get rewarded for surpassing it. Yeah. That way, banks, finance, everybody starts to reward you with lower interest rates, and you start to create some positive momentum. And politically, there's a big payoff. To me, it's duck soup. I don't understand why the Trudeau guys didn't do it, but they didn't, and I think the Carney guys are going back to that, and it's going to be smart and pay off for them in the fall budget.
Let's talk about what's happening in Quebec. So it's been a pretty good week for Christine Fréchette, of course, as a new premier. She got to go to the U.S., meet Jameson Greer, talk trade, and kind of let him know what we were not planning to give up here, and that has to do, of course, with supply management and whatever. Then she announced today, on top of an announcement last week that's going to save first-time homebuyers money in the welcome tax, today it's a cut for small businesses. It seems to me, Scott, should be doing everything right so far.
I think so. And I want to underline something that you said and that occurred, because I think it kind of gets taken for granted and blown by people that don't, work in these worlds and pay close attention to politics and so forth. Getting a meeting with Jameson Greer was by no means a guarantee. Like, actually getting the lead negotiator on CUSMA, when the White House doesn't give a tinker's damn about Canada, Quebec, or what we want. So being able to secure that meeting so that she could then dunk the ball on him and say, lay off of Quebec, lay off of supply management, all of that is a huge political win. And I just think people are probably going, she went down there and, she had to meet with these guys. And she did have to meet with those guys. Those guys didn't have to meet with her. So I think it's a win. I think it's looking good. I think she's playing her cards right. The problem is, and I don't mean to be a rain cloud, but if you're the CAC, it is conceivable that you could do everything right and still get rinsed. And that's what they're fighting against. But better to do it right and try to get yourself back in the game than to do it wrong and guarantee you're not there.
Fair enough. I want to get to the story you have. I've not heard anything about a word that NATO might be buying Bombardier planes.
So it's a rumor. Well, not a rumor. It's being reported by financial media. So there's a joint proposal from Bombardier and Saab for a plane. I forget the name of it. Sorry, I'm terrible with the defense terminology. But the plane, the warning planes, and so it looks like NATO, basically Europe, might be going for it. And that's a deliberate decision to not buy American because they have been purchasing American. So then think about us, right? We're talking about whether or not to buy the F-35.
Right.
Are we going to invest in American? They're going through the same logic with this. So they decided, and they appear to be on the brink of deciding, NATO, we're not going to reward America, right, who's turning their back on us and trashing us, and Donald Trump. Why would we then send tens of billions of dollars purchasing military hardware from them? To hell with them. And so instead, we're going to take this Saab, it's European, working with a Bombardier plane, and you know what? That's going to give us some diversity away from the United States. The exact same debate, the exact same logic that's being urged here in Canada when it comes to fighter jets. Yeah, buy some of the F-35s, but don't buy the whole fleet in F-35s. Buy some of those Saabs as well. So I think, A, it's good for Bombardier. B, it's good for Canada. C, it gives us a little bit of political cover as we decide whether or not we're going to buy an exclusively American fighter jet or mix our buy up and buy some European as well.
You know, but isn't then the concern that the U.S. looks upon this, obviously not appreciating what's happening here if we decide to go that way or NATO decides to go that way, at some point when they start seeing countries, in this case, a group of countries shying away from, buying American for obvious reasons, does the U.S. start to finally realize, it's not worth it and start to ease things?
I think the bet is, so actually there's something that happens first. The White House will realize it right away. And of course, Trump will go bananas and he'll try to lash out, but his power is weakening. And so if we can withstand the predictable assault where he threatens everybody and says, I'm going to stand away. But the problem, of course, is that Trump has taught us that doing what he wants doesn't get you rewarded. So what's the point of taking the political risk at home by doing something Donald Trump asked for when he doesn't treat you properly after you do it? He doesn't reward you for doing what he asked for. So withstand the punishment when he flips out, and then you're going to see American senators from states that are producing these planes and this hardware start to go, hey, you know what? Your policy is screwing us up. So yes, it's not going to happen in 2 months, but will it happen and hurt in the midterms? Yes. Will it happen and weaken them after that? Yes. And I think, this is kind of like, the wolf that huffs and puffs and he runs into a brick house. And he has taught us, you know what? We're not straw. We're not wood. We decided to build ourselves a brick. So go pound sand, buddy.
Scott Reid. Scott, always appreciate it. Thank you so much.
The newest tracks. Let's go. New music. And the next big thing.
Always on the new music first.
Your first place to hear it all.
'Cause you gon' like it, love it, wanna play it twice. Playing now.
iHeart New Music. Your digital station for brand new drops, fresh finds, and tomorrow's bangers.
I think we need something new.
Discover iHeart New Music. Always fresh, always first. Stream now on the free iHeartRadio app.